Hi, I'm Ola from subphotic.com, and my goal is to help rappers, beatmakers, producers, and so on get the most out of their music production. And in this video, I'm going to show you the top 5 plugins that I use for mixing a rap vocal. And I want to ask you a question. Do you use frequency analyzers when you mix in general? You see, this is the magnificent Pro Q3 that I evangelize about all the time. Lately, I have found out or discovered that shutting this thing off really helps my ears. It's great for ear training. Do you use them or not? Let me know in the comments. And before we dive into the meat of these plugins, download my free vocal checklist. The link is in the description. I give you my 5-step process of producing, mixing, and finishing off a great rap vocal take. Let's jump in. Number 1 plugin that I use when I mix a rap vocal take is the SSL E-channel strip. If you search the internet, this plugin will pop up like crazy. And I think that's because many people like it. I have chosen this for this list specifically because of 2 things. First off, there is no frequency spectrum analyzer on this plugin. When I tweak the low pass and high pass filters, when I tweak the EQ, I don't see anything. I have to use my ears. I think for everyone who has ever used this plugin, I use the UID one. I think everyone who has used this, at some point, they have tweaked the equalizer only to find that the engage button was off. So they haven't actually done anything, and I have done that a bunch of times, and it's equal funny every time. There's nothing helping you obtaining the sound other than your ears. So you have to really listen in as you tweak. What I tend to do when I tweak, for example, the high pass filter down here, I have the beat going and I have the vocal on top of that, and I just tweak and see when is the vocal lacking some low end punch, and then I will have to back off on the high pass filter. So that's one reason I like that plugin. Another reason, this is one of my favorites, is that it's more than just an EQ and a filter. It's also a compressor, it's a gate, and it's a saturation unit all in one. Now that's fantastic, isn't it? This plugin does many things and it does it really good. I think it's really worth the money. So number 1, there's the EQ, of course, obviously, and the high and the low pass filters. I use them a bit. I'm not overusing them. This EQ is really transparent and doesn't like being pushed too much. That's my experience, at least. A little goes a long way, and I use it actually more for cutting than boosting. I do my subtractive EQ with this one. Let's see, that's the EQ, and then there's the compressor, and this compressor has a fast setting. My first compressor in a vocal chain is oftentimes one for controlling dynamics. And then there's the gate, very useful for backing vocals and ad-libs. I engage that gate and it will cut out everything that's under a certain threshold. So if there are lower sounds such as bleed from the headphones or body noises such as breaths and small coughs and the noises from the room, it will cut it out automatically, so I don't have to go in manually and edit the region. I always used to do that back in the day, and my mixing sessions would last for 12 to 14 hours because I had to do that many edits on all the backing tracks, and a lot of time wasted, time that I could have spent training my ears doing the stuff that matters. So a gate is a blessing. If you don't have a gate in your arsenal, you certainly should get one. I have a suggestion for a free gate plugin, the kilohertz or hertz or what it's called. The link is in the on the screen right now. Kilohertz, and it's a picture of it right here. The kilohertz gate is a brilliant tool if you don't have this fancy schnancy plugin that I'm showing you now, the SSL. And I almost forgot to mention that it has the emulation of the Jensen transformers. If you push that fader a bit, you will get some sweet sounding yet subtle saturation, maybe a bit of coloring. You can experiment with it. I often just turn it up a bit to get some grit going. And that's it for that plugin. And also remember to gain stage because there are many processes happening here. You can either bump up the volume or lower the volume. You would like to keep the same volume at all times. That's the gain staging principle. I have a whole video on that. Make sure to check that out. The link is somewhere here. And that's it. Next up, and this might come as a surprise because I don't know about many people using this plugin regularly on vocals, and that's the transient designer or the transient master. Now, I use this for taming the case and the piece and all the plosive sounds, especially in rap vocals. It's important to just lower them a bit, and it depends on the rapper's mic technique and where you stand in front of the microphone, especially if it's a condenser, but I've also seen it in dynamic microphones. So with this, I turn down the attack to about 20 to 30, and I'm usually good to go. I use the smooth setting, and I'll just leave it at that. It's easy, and I don't have to go back to the region, cut out the case and the piece and lower them in volume like I used to do. It has really saved me a lot of time. Number 3, Kush Audio's Bliss, the beautifulest plugin on the planet, in my opinion. This plugin also does several things. First and foremost, it's a saturation unit, and it gives some sweet saturation to whatever you put through it. I almost always use this plugin on the mix bus. It really competes with my SSL Fusion in many ways, especially when it comes to the saturation part. It's a sweet sounding EQ. There are 6 bands, and I experiment with all 6 of them on any vocal I do. And I could use this as the second equalizer, the one that I use most for boosts. I also do some cutting, but mostly boosting, especially in the low and the highs. And then there's a compressor. The compressor is slow, which suits me perfectly for the second compressor, which is to add some vibe and add to the tonality of the vocal take. And not to mention shaping the vocal, making it a bit less dynamic without losing punch. It's like a VCA type of compressor. It's almost like a SSLG bus compressor, but it acts a bit differently. It has a fast and a slow setting. I experiment actually with the fast or the slow. Just listen in and check out what sounds best. Number 4, Valhalla Vintage Verb. I don't know if this is the best sounding reverb. It certainly is sweet sounding. I love it. There are reverb plugins that sound better, but none of them, at least in my opinion, can compete with the swiftness and the ease of dialing in what you want on this plugin. I use the wet on 100%. I use it as a send effect. I crank up the high pass filter and crank down the low pass filter, and I'll just use room reverb or plate. Sometimes I use the chamber as well, but room, plate, or chamber, that's my go-tos for vocals on this one. And I use the modern setting because I like it to sound as clean as possible. It's only subtle, it's in the background, and I don't want it to make too much out of itself. It's easy to use. That's the most important thing. Large buttons makes for fast results. And finally, number 5. And newsflash, this is not a delay plug. I can make rap vocals perfectly fine without using any type of delay plugins. I use the Echo Boy from Soundtoys all the time, but right now I have focused on what is really essential. And that is the IK Multimedia Classic Clipper. This one. I use this for adding some final saturation or distortion, if you may, and also controlling the transients, squeezing them down a bit, making the vocal fit in any circumstance, whether if there's loud or soft parts of the beat. Of course, afterwards I use fader automation, but as the final plugin in my vocal chain, I use the classic clipper. I used to use a limiter. I sometimes use a limiter and a clipper, and sometimes only a limiter. But when push comes to shove, I would choose the clipper because it tames the transients and it adds a bit of a vibe. And I like the vibe of the classic clipper. Again, big buttons, an easy to read user interface, and I get fast results from it. I just lower the output and I'll increase the drive or the input. I'll just leave the button in the middle. I don't touch it, and I usually get great results doing that. Which one of these plugins do you think is the best? And do you have suggestions of other plugins that you may want to pull up? And if you had to make a list of 5 go-to plugins, what would it be? Hit me up in the comments and let's discuss. And don't forget to answer my initial question, which was, do you use a spectrum analyzer when you mix in general, and especially when producing vocals? Let me know in the comments. And if you like videos like these, hit the subscribe button. Put the bell on, put the like on, put the share button on, and let your friends know, because I'm here to help. If you have questions, just hit me up and I might catch you in the next video. Peace!